Hey everybody, this is just a quick introduction to the instructor side of WebAssign, the online ancillary that we use for most of our courses at South Math. So you'll start off by going to webassign.net and signing in. You can get there through Cengage's website. WebAssign is a Cengage product, but I like going this route. It seems to be a little bit cleaner for me. And then sign in with your username and password. And you should have a screen that looks more or less like this. You might have more or less classes here, but you'll see what I have here is a template course. I'll use Math 080 for this demonstration, but if you're using a departmental template, you likely reached out to me and I added you to that template, so you'll see it here, and you'll be able to make copies of it and so on. Or if you have a section from a previous semester that you're looking to copy to the current semester, you can go in here and navigate to past semesters and get into your material that way. So I'm just going to assume that, somebody had reached out to me for the current 080 template. I added them and you should see something like this, Math 080 section template. This is the departmental template that you can feel free to use in any way that you want. Use it as is, you can edit it, or if you want to kind of make your own from scratch, that's perfectly okay too. But what I'd like to do now is these departmental templates, we don't want students going into these because these are just kind of shared between a lot of different faculty. The purpose of these templates is for you to make a local copy on your account and then share that copy's information with students. So students will use your local copy, not some kind of template that's shared between all kinds of faculty. Just one quick note on this is everything that I'm saying here and a bit more is included in a quick notes document that you can find on the Blackboard site. If you go to courses.ccac.edu, go to the course titled SMAT, you should be listed as a student in that course. So it might be at the bottom of your screen, but click on that and you can go to the folder called WebAssign information. And in there, you'll see a document called Quick Notes, and it has all of this kind of laid out in there as well. But the first thing we're going to look at is creating a new class, a new section on your local account. So we'll go to our classes dropdown and create class. And then because I have a lot of past sections, I have a lot on here, but this is the one we're going to be focusing on, Math 080 section template, fall 2024. So we'll choose that one. Or again, if you wanted to copy over something that you had used the previous semester to a current semester, you would just find it wherever it is in this list. And this brings up a page where I need to fill in all of this information. So I use Math 080. Whoops, we'll call it arithmetic. Just fill in whatever section number you have. I'm just doing this as an example. And since we're in fall 2024, we'll choose that as the term. Start and end date, I usually give a pretty decent buffer on the end date. For the start date, I usually pick it pretty close to the start date of the course. So I'll list this as Monday the 19th because that's whenever our regular classes start. The reason for that is you see that when you pick this start date, students will have a free trial period for 2 weeks from the start date of the course. So WebAssign goes by the start date of the course, gives them a 2-week free trial to get all the tech and all of that sorted out before they have to actually pay for access or get shut out. Note that the MyLab system, if you've used MyMathLab or something, that goes for 2 weeks from the date of the student's account creation. So it's a little bit different. So that's why I try to not set my start date too early. And then the end date, I usually like to give a bit of a buffer. So I'll do something like December 31st. So this way students can get in and they can still, see their grades, see their results and all of that. for a little bit of time after the course ends. You could put in your class meetings. I'll just choose no scheduled class meetings. Um, but if you wanted to, you could say when your class meets, and that can sometimes help when you move a section from semester to semester. A lot of times the system will be able to kind of align the homework sets from the previous semester to the new semester and do a pretty good job at getting things lined up. We'll check off that we're using the textbook. And because this is a template section that I'm copying, this is the departmental section that I'm planning to copy to my personal account, I am going to make a new copy of each assignment. So I'm going to make sure that's checked. Now, if I was moving, say, a section from a previous semester of mine, copying it over, then I probably wouldn't make a new copy of each assignment because that just kind of clutters up your assignment list. Um, so you might want to uncheck this if you're making a copy of one of your previous sections. But again, because we're using the template, you want a new local copy on your account for each of these assignments. So that way you're free to edit them any way that you'd like. The additional instructor access, you can choose to not copy that. A lot of times these templates have several instructors on them, and this just makes sure that people aren't being added to your sections. That might be confusing to them or to you. Um, Probably a good idea to copy the gradebook settings over, although we'll go through how the gradebook works pretty quickly here as well. And all of these kind of things are just restrictions on, for instance, the exams. Are they timed and not? Things like that. So you might or might not want to copy those over from, say, a previous semester, depending on whether you're planning on changing things. And we'll just go down to create course. And it takes a few seconds to create the course. And then we should be able to access it pretty much right away. And now we see our section. We see this is our local section that we're working with now, not the departmental template. So at this point, you could shoot me an email and just say, hey, I've made my local copy, and then I'll remove you from the template. That'll clean up your home screen a little bit. And I want to go through a couple of things that we probably want to do pretty much right away before the students get access to the course. First of all, you can see that we have a lot of things posted, a lot of material over there. If a student logs in and sees this, it's going to be pretty confusing for them. So we want to go to reschedule assignments. And you see where it says scheduled, I'm going to change all or at least most of these to no. If you have a touch screen, the touch screen is kind of the way to go for this, I found, but you can go through and mouse click each one of these. It takes a while, but I'm just going to use my touch screen, and you can see it goes a lot faster this way. And I'm going to turn most of these off. I wish there was a way to select all and turn them all off, but I don't think there is. And then just for an example, I'll kind of keep maybe the first couple available. If I go down and save, again, the system's running a little bit more slowly than usual today, probably because everybody is on the system in the run up to the new semester. Note that I'm on the current or recent assignments page here. There are no current assignments because the course doesn't actually start for a few days. But over here under future assignments is where we will see our 2 assignments that we have left available to students. Now I might decide that if I go back into reschedule assignments that I don't like the due date being on the 30th. So what I can do is go in and change that due date. If I click this, it pops up a different window. I'm not going to change my screen share and all of that. The window just has a calendar in it. You can click on the date that you want the assignment to be due. So maybe I'll change it to Sunday the 25th. And you can see that entered the 25th in here for our due date, if I can select it. By default, everything is available on the start date of the course, and the students can view it until the end date of the course. But of course, you can change that also. So you see that this quiz was set to be available a little bit later in the course. Maybe I'll just go in and change that so that everything is all the same. But for things like exams, you might want an exam to not be available to students until a certain date. Once I have one date in here that I like, if I double or triple click it, I can Control C to copy and then Control V to paste. And that's a lot quicker than opening up the calendar every time or trying to manually edit all of these. Okay, so I've got my due dates changed. I'm happy with my availability. These are scheduled. So again, I'll scroll down to the bottom, click save again. And then in this case, I'll go to future assignments. Typically, these will show up immediately in your current or recent assignments, but since we set the start date a couple of days from now at the beginning of the semester, you'll have to go to future assignments to see these. And I'll check that everything looks right, everything looks good. The assignments that I want to show up are showing up and their due dates and times are correct. I typically set all of my due dates and times to the Sunday after we've covered the material at midnight, so 11:59 p.m. But however you want to set due dates or due times is fine. If you're ever in a situation where sometimes the ordering gets jumbled up, uh, most of the time the ordering like it looks right. So you'll see section 1.1 before 1.2, but WebAssign doesn't really know that 1.1 should be before 1.2. It just works off of things like due dates and availability and when the homework was created, those kind of things. If you ever need to reorder their order, you can go over here to reorder, and then you can just drag and drop into whatever order you want. So every once in a while, the system gets, oh, nothing to save because I didn't change anything really. Every once in a while, the system gets a little bit jumbled up or something, or maybe you changed a due date to a date that you didn't intend and then changed the back, and that kind of jumbles things up. You can go into reorder and get things looking right again. Okay, so now that we have our course copied over to our local account, we have it set up the way that we want, we would be happy with students seeing it at that point. How do we let students know what what they need to do to get into the course? Well, the first thing we want to do is go to class key settings, and you'll see that this class key comes up. The way that we run things at South Campus is students enroll in the courses using a class key. Some other colleges have kind of a direct link to their Blackboard or their equivalent of Blackboard, and that kind of handles all of the enrollment, and the payment is handled through the registrar's office, or we don't do it that way. There are some folks at CCAC piloting that and experimenting with it, but um, we're not there right now. So you would give students this course key, and the ccac.cc.pa is part of it. That's what says that that's our CCAC course. And then these following 8 numbers, note that there is a space before the first 4 and between the first and second 4 numbers. So I think you need that space, although it's gotten a little bit smarter over the years and is able to tolerate um, a little more inaccuracy. So, but it's best to put those spaces in. So if you look on the top right up here, there's view as student. We're going to actually go into that view. We see that we're in our correct section here. And we're going to go up to open help here. We're going to the help button in the student side because we want to give the students the student instructions. If we go into the help from the instructor page over here, it gives kind of slightly different instructions. So it's a little bit of a backwards kind of thing, but we want to go to open help now. And if we get on to getting started, we see that there's a student quick start guide. And this gives students a pretty clear and easy way to to get into the course. So what I would typically do is I would save this quick start guide as a PDF. I would edit the PDF and put, maybe right at the top here, I would just put a text box with that ccac.cc.pa and those 8 numbers. And then I would save it and just send that to students, post it on my Blackboard site, and that should be all that students need to get into the WebAssign section. If don't want to edit the PDF, you can just post this as it is, and then just along with post a note along with it that has the class key in it. Okay, so we'll exit the student view, go back to the instructor view. The other thing that I think is important to remind students of is that they do have that 2-week free trial. So students really should be logging in the first day of class, using that free trial if they don't have their financial aid or their book or whatever set up, and making sure that they can get into the system, that the tech is working and all of that. So by the end of the first week, all the students really ought to be in the system, in the WebAssign system, whether or not they have financial aid they're waiting on or anything like that. They can use that free trial, get into the system. And then the last kind of general topic that I want to talk about is the grading system. So if we go into score view, that's where we can see the scores for students on different assignments. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any assignments or any students in here, but if I go from current and recent assignments to all assignments, you can see that here are the 2 assignments that are posted. These are both never downloaded, so I've never opened the assignment and even looked at it. And NS means not started, so that means the student opened it but never actually submitted anything for grading. Or if there's a number here, then that's their current grade. If you click on the student's name, then this is what it'll look like. You'll see the list of all of their scores over here on the right, along with the totals. You can click responses to see what their actual answers to questions were. So if I click that, of course, there's no answers in here right now, but you can see what the response was if they had given a response. If you go to details, you can see if a question has multiple parts, how was each part scored, things like that. And you can also see previous answers. I think that's usually under details as well, but only after an answer has been entered. So students have, you can give them a few tries on a problem, on each problem. And if they have a few different tries, their most recent attempt will show up here. But if you want to see previous attempts to see maybe one of their previous attempts was really close, but they just had a syntax error or something like that, some typo, you can look back. You can look back there. And then the other main thing on this page is this grade extensions and submissions. So students quite often will ask for a little bit of extra time on a homework or an exam. And depending on what your policy is, personally, I don't give extensions on exams, but I do give extensions on homeworks up to 1 week after the due date. So if a student was to email me and say, hey, I missed this homework, or I got partway through the homework, but I have a tutoring session coming up. Can I have an extension so I can work through it later on? You can go into grade extensions and submissions, and you can change the due date. You can adjust that further out if you want, and you can change the number of submissions. So these are currently set to 100 submissions each. But again, you can change them as you like. Okay, so if you want to change some of the details for an assignment, you go into your assignments up here, into my assignments, and you can see that all of the homeworks for this new section have been copied over here. Unfortunately, they're in reverse order, so we've got to go this way a bit to get to our early material over here. And we can edit our assignments here. So we can see all of our assignments at once here, whether they're assigned or not. The assignments that we see over here under current recent assignments or future assignments, we can actually edit them here, but um, I'm a little hesitant to do that because once we post them, students will be able to see them. Um, I don't know if I want to really post an assignment and then edit it from there. One little hack that I sometimes do is I'll post the assignment with a future due date, a future availability date, that is. I'll just come in here and click save really quick. Then I'll go back and unschedule it so that it doesn't show up for the students. And then when we go into my assignments, we see that that one that I want to change is now at the front of this line, especially if you have several courses, you might have 100 or 200 assignments in here, and there's not really a good way to go through these except paging through one by one. You can see how many assignments I have for all of my classes from in the past and every time they've been copied over and that kind of thing. But I can go in here and I can edit the assignment if I want. And I can change the questions that are on the assignment. If I don't like a question, I can remove it. I can change the uh, points that are added that are awarded for each problem. I can change, and one of our full-time faculty members, John Float, is the one who set up this course. So this is using his template. But if I wanted to use a different set of settings, if I wanted to change submissions allowed or anything that I might want to change in here, change what's available, um, as far as learning tools and things, I could go and do that. If you wanted to make your own template, you could do that as well. Edit assignment templates over here. So lots of flexibility in here. Um, again, you can just kind of take this as a prepackaged setup and run with it, or you can really tinker with it a lot and edit it to your heart's content. So there's a lot of flexibility, and a lot of that is in, again, this edit menu here. A couple more details that I want to point out is there's this resources tab that's kind of hides in the background here. It's, at least I'm not usually looking up here uh, for whatever, for interesting stuff. I'm kind of looking inside the pane, but if you click over to resources, you might want to tell your students about this too. There are a ton of videos as well as the occasional PowerPoint and things. So this is a great supplement if the students just want to hear a different voice, a different point of view, maybe different examples. They can come over here and use some of these resources. And then lastly, grades up here. So this kind of score view is the kind of detailed grades if you want to dig into what a student, scored on a particular assignment, or if you want to review an exam for partial credit or whatever that may look like. But if you just want to look at the gradebook overall, this is where you would go. So we have, okay, show faculty, I guess. Again, since I'm the only student in the class, it looks a little bit funky. It'll look a little more fleshed out when you have students in here. I don't want to use a live class because I don't want to post actual students and their grades on YouTube. So, but yeah, this is what it'll look like. You can go into settings and say what categories you want to count towards the grade. You can give the final course grade weighting. You can choose any details you want for say, homework, quizzes, exams, do you want to drop so many assignments or whatever. Um, and you can put in your grading scale as well. So I would recommend whatever grade distribution you end up going with, whatever calculation for the final course grade and so on. I would recommend going in here and just updating these settings, um, either before the start of the course or at least early on in the course, so that students do have a pretty well updated grade book, so that their WebAssign grade book is kind of roughly in line um, with their course grade. This is especially important in an online or remote section, because most of our material, including quizzes and exams, is going to be on WebAssign. In an on-campus section, it's a little less important because a lot of your material is going to be in person. So, just make sure to let the students know that, their final course grade is not going to be what's in this WebAssign gradebook. This WebAssign gradebook only sees part of their coursework, not all of it. So they have to keep that in mind. Okay, so I think that was all that I had for the WebAssign system. Again, pretty quick overview. There's a ton of stuff you can do on here. So if you have any questions about any of this, shoot me an email, ask me. I'm happy to meet with you, or to see if there's a way that we can achieve whatever it is that you want to do. And remember, there's also the quick notes if you want just to kind of a quick PDF that runs through some of these topics that are the most commonly used topics. Again, that's on the Blackboard site under the SMAT, the South Mathematics course, under the WebAssign information folder.